Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blind Buys. Usually, we're a podcast where we watch and discuss movies we've bought sight unseen, but today, something so seismic has happened in the physical media world that we had to get together last minute and record an emergency episode. Jesse, what is going on today?
That's right, Josh. I am recording from a secure, undisclosed location, undisclosed even to you, surrounded by a Faraday cage with Blu-rays, 4Ks, physical media players. Timestamp, it is 2:13 p.m. Pacific on June 22nd. We're just going with what we have so far. Who can say what has been disclosed since this goes live? But Criterion has announced the complete Kubrick, a box set, a director-centric box set with everything that Stanley Kubrick ever made, encompassing what they've released so far in the collection and other things that were held by other studios, other labels. Wow.
Yeah, this is huge. This is a day that was speculated by many to be coming soon. How are we to know how soon? But this is a massive announcement from Criterion, and certainly one of the most sought after box sets that they have released in recent years. We have a lot to talk about today, so if we want to just jump right in to what information they've given us here, it looks like this is a 30-disc collection. Like you said, every movie restored in 4K, so that's 13 features and 3 shorts, with their original soundtracks alongside the 5.1 mixes that have been restored and remastered.
Including the international cut, I believe they said, of The Shining, which I didn't know was a thing, that there was a separate cut that perhaps was fabled or people had talked about. That's the kind of thing that collectors often go crazy about, so I don't know what the differences are, if they're notable.
Yeah, never even realized there was an international version out there. What makes this box set so interesting to me is that so many of these films were already in the Criterion collection, but a lot of these films got, pretty loud 4K releases from other labels, even fairly recently. What's already a part of the collection is The Killing, Paths of Glory, Doctor Strangelove, Barry Lyndon, and most recently Eyes Wide Shut. That was a big one, and as you know, when that was released, there was some discussion going around of, do I get this Eyes Wide Shut 4K now? Is there a box set coming in the future? And I feel like that's kind of indicative of what collecting is now,
Yeah, and even the Barry Lyndon 4K, I think, was just not much longer, more than a year ago. So that even that one's pretty recent. Like this had to already be in the works when they were working on the 4K upgrade for that. I have to imagine.
Yep. But his other work has been featured, like some of his early stuff has been released in 4K by Kino Lorber. They put out Killer's Kiss and Fear and Desire. There have been a couple of studio 4Ks of Spartacus, 2001, Clockwork Orange, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket. There's even been some 4K combo collections that I think Warner's has put out of his work. So there are a lot of options for people looking to collect Kubrick's works on 4K, just never before in one massive collection like this. So I think what a lot of collectors today are asking themselves are, is it worth the upgrade to get the Criterion box set, even if you have a fair number of his films on Blu-ray or 4K already? What is your mindset right now, seeing all of this laid out before you as Criterion has done?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I would love to have this. It's gorgeous, and I mean I own several of Criterion's other director centric box sets. I mean, I think I've talked here about how the the Bergman set was really kind of drew me back into this whole world when that was released. The Varda set I watched the One Sings the Other Doesn't out of that set. And they have I made just a quick list of some of the other notable ones they've done. The Essential Fellini, The World of Wong Kar-wai, Pasolini
Hmm.
101, and they have even some smaller ones covering some other filmmakers, including like exhaustive ones like the Marlon Riggs. Even that's just one disc. It was all documentary shorts, so they kind of have a really great track record of doing these, if not complete, very at least very like exhaustive or essential box sets for directors. I think of the
Yeah.
Cassavetes set is another one that I think of when I think of like essential director sets. So yeah, this is beautiful, and we have to just shout out Drusilla Adeline, also known as Sister Hyde, did with the graphic design. I believe throughout this set, she's been killing it with Criterion recently. She did the Eyes Wide Shut 4K was her design, and she has a bunch of other notable ones: After Hours, Targets, Elephant
Oh
Man.
wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so she's just really one of the best people in their stable right now. So props to
Yeah.
her.
The After Hours cover design is by far my favorite Criterion cover that I have in my collection.
Yeah.
So seeing here that it's the same artist just makes me even more excited and happy for how this looks.
Yeah, and you can see just a tease of it here in the still that they or the image that they have on the pre-order page. There's it looks like if the set is open to the Full Metal Jacket page, which she's done sort of new art in her style for each kind of within the sort of, I don't know if it's a media book or if the book is separate. It's hard to tell here if this book is going to be separate or if it's going to be sort of like with kind of like the Godzilla set where the Kubrick or the Bergman set where the pages are part of the packaging in terms of like the discs are packaged into the pages, so to speak. But anyway,
Yeah.
they've got annotated pages from, I mean, it looks like facsimiles in Kubrick's hand from scripts and other things next to these images that Drusilla made, and along with like essays, things like that. So honestly, that's kind of what I am most interested in. I like everything that's kind of around these discs, and I'm sure the movies are going to look great, but I'm kind of in a similar position. I own 7 of these movies already in 4K, in 4K or Blu-ray. Barry Lyndon, I only have the Criterion Blu-ray. Killing only has a Blu-ray, but everything else I've
Hmm.
got in 4K. So yeah, and the ones I don't have, stuff like I don't have Clockwork Orange, I don't have Full Metal Jacket. Those are movies that I either saw a whole bunch when I was younger, like in college, like in the case of Full Metal Jacket, and I have on DVD. Clockwork Orange, not my favorite Kubrick. I don't know, not one that I am rushing out to revisit.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Lolita, I have not seen at all. So I'm definitely that is one I will see at some point. That
Yeah.
and Killer's Kiss are like the last of the blind spots I have in terms of having
Hmm.
seen. So I'm kind of in that spot where this retails for 600, but almost nobody will
Oof.
pay that much for it, whether you're buying it unless you buy it from Barnes and Noble straight up, not on a sale. So it's
Yeah.
going to be either 480 plus taxed, presumably right now from Criterion, or for most collectors $300 on a sale. So for
Right.
me, $300 for something where I already own half of these on 4K. Granted, they're not all the Criterion releases. I could sell, recoup some money and sell some of these discs to get,
Yep.
some money to throw toward it. But it's kind of a steep price for me to consider
Yeah.
getting this, as beautiful as it looks. And from a collector's mindset, I just think of like, what could $300 get me in terms of other releases? That's
Hmm.
a decent number of discs. But if you think about it, also, I mean, a counterpoint is that at the $300 price point, this breaks down to about, if you get it on a sale, it's about $23 for per feature for 13 movies, and
Yeah, and that is like that's
that's pretty
almost
decent.
unheard of
Yeah,
for a brand new 4K release. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, when you set your when you set your manufacturer's suggested retail price
Exactly.
at $600, you're kind of, as you mentioned to me over text, I think you're kind of pricing this for the sale.
Yep.
They're
That
kind of
seems to be their
going into
strategy now.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going into this release with the mindset of we're going to price this fairly prohibitively, so that way when it goes on to the 50% off sale, people think they're getting a fantastic deal and will jump on it. Of course, I've done the same thing for their previous release of the Wes Anderson box set. It was not $600 to begin with, but it was certainly quite expensive, and I waited for the Barnes and Noble sale and was able to get it for half off there. I mean, Criterion always typically has a 50% off sale on their whole catalog, around July. So the collectors who know are definitely going to be waiting to get this rather than jumping on pre-orders right now. You've put in the document here the prices for some of their previous box sets. You've mentioned the Agnes Varda box set. There are 39 films on Blu-ray in that box set, and
Yeah, a lot of
the
those are
retail price
shorts.
there is
Yeah.
275.
And that's about 23 features or something like that. But the Bergman box is like 39 features, almost all of his movies for $300. So, yeah.
Yeah, which, as we've mentioned, like those are on Blu-ray. That's not 4K. So obviously there is a little bit of a quality difference there. And like in terms of, how much maybe they can pack on a disc as well.
Yep.
But even like the smaller examples that you've put down here, like the Wong Kar-wai collection, we mentioned this in last week's episode, maybe packaging that I'm not a huge fan of, and I know others aren't either, but 7 films, beautifully remastered. It's a premium collection, retailing for $199. Those are all Blu-ray as well.
Yeah.
So not necessarily comparable with this, but
And
something to
and
think about.
yeah, and I feel like there is a bit of a like the Bergman one was the first really huge one. I mean, Criterion did release a 25 film box set of Kurosawa films, and that was and again that was DVD only. But the first kind of director centric box from this modern era was Bergman. That was 39 movies for $300, Blu-ray only. But I feel like there was a bit of a shift in terms of the price points on these and how many films you got sometime around the Wong Kar-wai box, because that's like 7 films for $200 retail. And we're talking about retail prices here. So,
Right.
and then from there you get like the Pasolini is 9 films, 250, and you're getting a lot of other stuff in the like Criterion throws in books and things. You're getting a lot more than just the movies. But I do feel like also you're getting a bit of an inflation here for what Criterion's, I guess, cultural footprint has sort of become in the last
Yeah.
few years. If you just think of how big the closet videos have become, how they've got the mobile closet showing up at film festivals and that being like a phenomenon. I think 10 years ago you would not have had an 8-hour line to go into the
Oh yeah.
Criterion, the mobile Criterion closet. I would have been very excited about it. So I think I think it's just cool that collecting these is at a point where something like this could exist, and again, I understand the price point because 4K costs more to make these. It costs more to actually make these discs. Like from the interviews
Yes.
I've heard with people like smaller boutique label producers, the reason they start out with Blu-ray is because they kind of have to get on their feet before they can think about making 4Ks, because it just does cost more.
Yeah.
So, but they're definitely pricing these with the sale in mind. And yeah, and if you have not collected any Kubrick at all, and you're just getting into film, then this is kind of a no-brainer. And I don't know, we're getting older. Younger people are getting into collecting movies all the time. So this is kind of like going to be there for them and everybody else who comes in after us. So I think it's great that
Yeah.
this is there. It's really, really beautiful to see.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Um, I'm wondering what the level um, of FOMO is going to be for collectors who are kind of watching this maybe from afar, and they've convinced themselves that they don't need this because they have so many Kubrick films already. But like, what their thought is going to be about like how this necessarily this isn't necessarily for them, you know. Like you said, this really is for probably geared towards more, you know, first time collectors or people getting into the game. Um,
Yeah.
but especially as studios continue to upgrade Blu-rays to 4Ks, and we get more into the question of what's worth the upgrade, what's not. Obviously, that's like a personal question that everybody has to answer for themselves. But even thinking beyond 4K, like what happens if there is another format in the future? You know, that comes
Yeah.
along, and then we have this whole discussion again of like collectors seeing reissues over and over again of things they already own. Like, how are the labels going to keep up with that?
I think about this often just in terms of like visual fidelity. I don't think 4K could think. It's hard for me to imagine anything that will look better than 4K that I will feel like I need. But obviously, these companies they want to exist beyond this current window of collecting, and they're only as we know in boutique labels are always kind of digging up things that we didn't know existed. There are a lot of movies out there,
Yep.
but there's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like this core, you know, for lack of a better term, canon of films that they're always going to want to kind of turn to get people interested in it. Do you just kind of like have these on the kind of in the catalog and say, hey, we've got this set? Or do you kind of come up with some new value add to make it feel new and fresh again? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future because they always want to, they're going to have to keep selling things. And you only get, it takes a while for new customers to kind of come of age and to come into your hobby. So yeah, how do you,
And be able to
yeah,
afford a $600 box set. Yeah.
totally. So yeah, it's interesting to think about going forward what it looks like. I know for me, like the big one that I kind of have avoided collecting is Kurosawa. I only
Yeah.
have so Seven Samurai was one of the first Criterion DVDs I bought way
Mm-hmm.
like years and years and years ago. I have Ron on 4K because I saw Ron, the 4K restoration at the Cinerama here, and it was like a quasi religious experience. I was like, I need to have this. This is incredible. But other than that, I haven't bought anything because I am waiting for Criterion to put out a Kurosawa, like another Kurosawa box, because that DVD set is long out of print.
Yeah.
And I think this is just proof that the sort of the saw about, well, they've got a lot of these in individual releases. Then they have more Kurosawa individual releases than they do Kubrick's. But I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like if I start buying those, as soon as I start buying those Kurosawa individual releases, a box set is going to be announced, and I'm going to
Yeah.
be kind of back here again. So I'm going to. This has strengthened my resolve to keep waiting on the Kurosawa releases.
Yeah, and who knows who's next? Like, I mean, I could see a world now where there's like a Nolan box set, which is like the
Mm-hmm.
collection so far. I don't know if they would get their hands on his Batman films or not, but I know one of his early works, Following, is in the
Mm-hmm.
Criterion
Yep.
collection.
Memento. I feel like
Um,
Memento still needs a really good like I don't know if there's a Memento 4K off the top of my head, but that's one I would love to have. But I've
yeah,
been kind of is on my list of things I'd rather wait for boutique to release, and Criterion would be a
yep,
great, even if it's just sort of like a subsection of his films like Memento, Following, and I don't know what else they would do at this point. But yeah, a lot of those again, those are things that might be more likely to see light of day from a boutique in a box set because if we've as we've seen like, you know, I don't know that I don't think Criterion could have gotten 2001 The Shining. Those are the big ones I think to put out for individual releases because those are ones that Warner Brothers know that they can sell on their own. But who knows with Warner Brothers getting bought by Paramount likely in the offing, who knows what their strategy about physical media will be
yeah.
going forward.
It could be a whole thing like Disney did, where they shut down their home media division, and I believe now Sony runs the production of all their discs now
Yeah,
and
something
things
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether we get any individual 4K releases for the Kubrick films that weren't already in the collection. I know for the Wes Anderson collection, they did end up releasing individuals of the ones that they didn't have, except for Asteroid City, which wasn't even in the box, but I'm not going to get upset about that today. Um, um, we could look through the special features here real quick if you wanted to take a quick overview of what's here.
Yeah, it's a little scant. There's and much more is the last thing listed here. But yeah, we do have newly recorded commentary tracks. It doesn't say for how many of them, if it's for all of them, featuring filmmaker Lee Unkrich, editor of the book Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and author Michael Benson, who wrote Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, and Making of a Masterpiece. So maybe that's new. That could be new commentaries for all of them. We don't know.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool value add if there's new commentaries for everything. Unseen Lolita screen tests with actors James Mason and Sue Lyon, and a rare Full Metal Jacket behind the scenes footage. So yeah, Lolita feels like the big one that is like making a big leap from a Blu-ray that was who knows how old going to
Hmm.
4K.
What I'm really interested here are the rare films from graphic films and computer animation pioneer John Whitney that inspired the special effects in 2001: A Space Odyssey. That has really piqued my interest because obviously, the special effects in 2001: A Space Odyssey are legendary and hold up today. And I would really like to see what they've included in this set that has inspired those, as they say. Um, Obviously, probably a ton of essays coming forth in like the booklets themselves. As far as the packaging, we talked a little bit about the art in the packaging, but I'm kind of enhancing on the image here, the single image that has been put on the Criterion website, and it looks like, uh, I'm sure to your dismay, the discs are once again kind of just being slid into a cardboard casing. Um,
Yes.
that looks a bit like tabs in a folder kind of situation happening here, but really just not an ideal way, as we've
Yeah,
discussed,
and
to store
it does
discs.
sound like I saw a friend of ours posted a screenshot. I think it looked like from Reddit. A quote, probably I'm assuming from Drusilla Adeline, saying that they thought about doing individual cases or something like that. Maybe like I don't know if it had been slip out cases or maybe something like the Wes Anderson set has. I haven't seen the
The
inside of that.
media
I don't know.
books, yeah,
Something like that. But they said it just wouldn't fit the form of this sort of archive box that they had come up with. So it sounds like they tried to take some lessons from the Varda set, maybe the Bergman set, the Godzilla set, and rethink the way that these are inset there, where there's kind of like a slot where you can kind of like you can reach the spindle hole in the center of the disc and pull it out that way. So kind of an easier way
yeah.
to rather than trying to grab the edge of the disc or anything like that.
Hmm.
So it's nice that they're thinking about this, and I can see here also there's like tabs or something, which is kind of cool. It looks like an archive box, so maybe there's a tab for 2001, a tab for Full Metal Jacket or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's cool that it looks like an archive box. I feel like for me the jury is still out on whether form should kind of dictate the the overall presentation of this as opposed to function, because again this
Yeah.
is like just it's an oddly shaped box. How you're gonna have this on a shelf? But anyway, these are really like these are crazy nitpicks that I have, but the biggest thing is just whether the discs can come out easily, and it looks like they're at least trying to improve on that.
Yeah.
I do know that at
That
least
is true.
with yeah, the problem with my Godzilla set that I talked about in the last episode was that there was like basically some glue or something that held the pages, or not the pages but the cardstock for these thicker pages holding the discs together, and that did fail. So I do wonder if there's a you know I hope that won't be a problem on this, because again, to pay $300 for something that you take the discs out a couple times, and to have it fall apart, hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully they've done some quality control on that. But yeah, it looks
Yeah.
beautiful. And I think for me, my FOMO is kind of like mostly at bay. Sometimes I instantly have like the reaction, "Oh man, I really want that." But to me, I'm like, this is great. I'm glad it's out there. Would have been nice to have it if I didn't already have the ones that I really want. Spartacus is one I could see getting eventually, but it's not like it doesn't feel it's it's kind of him working in a very different mode than what he would go on to do
Hmm.
later. So the ones I really want to have, I already have in pretty good looking editions.
Yeah.
So for now, I think I'm good.
Yeah, same for me. I did I did get like a slight twinge of FOMO as soon as I saw this being announced. Probably more than a slight twinge, to be honest. But as I was kind of reading through it and seeing like what the size of this might be, and then also just kind of taking stock of like what I already own of his. Like I've already done the 4K upgrade to Barry Lyndon. I've already got Eyes Wide Shut. Doctor Strangelove, I believe I have the Columbia 4K of already. Um, and then yeah, 2001 and The Shining. I think the studio releases for me will cover me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I hadn't gotten Eyes Wide Shut and Barry Lyndon within the last year or two, I think this would have been like, well, I'll take a haircut on this. But now it's like, now this is, I'm feeling pretty good. But yeah, I'm cool. I'm glad for what it means for the hobby and what for the people who will get to experience, perhaps most of these movies for the first time. If you can't see them on a big screen, I know something like 2001 ends up being in a lot of sort of 70 millimeter retrospectives. If you don't live in a
hmm
city where stuff like that happens, you have access to a really definitive collection of, the full output of one of the best filmmakers to ever do it.
yeah. And Godspeed to everybody ordering this on either the Barnes and Noble 50% off sale or the Criterion twice a year 50% off sale. The good thing is, I mean, Criterion doesn't tend to sell out of these things permanently, and they don't play the limited edition game that places like Vinegar Syndrome do. So hopefully this will, remain in Criterion's rotation. They'll be able to restock this, for as long as they have the licenses to these films.
Yeah, it'll be there 5 years from now when if I reach a weak point and decide, you know what, click.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll still be there. Yep.
Yeah. That time comes for us all.
Yep.
Well, that wraps up this emergency episode of Blind Buys. Thanks for taking 20, 25 minutes here to listen to us talk through our feelings about this set. And just a reminder, our next episode will be featuring Violet from the Tomb of Treasure video shop in Seattle, and we'll be discussing 1990s hardware. I'm excited to say I did procure a 4K edition of that. They had a restock at Orbit DVD, and I was able to get that. So I will be watching that soon, and we'll be discussing that on our next episode.
Keep watching the skies.